The Constitutional Museum at O.P. Jindal University, Sonipat, is an experience which everyone should have at, at least once during their life. Goosebumps to patriotism. It gives one's all. So please, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and experience this visit of ours to the Constitutional Museum at O.P. Jindal University, Sonipat. Jai Hind.
If you turn around, the gateway that you enter through, we call it the Freedom Gateway. Because the Constitution Museum or the Constitution book has set us free, it has given us freedom, so that's why it's called the Freedom Gateway. And the artwork that you see on the gateway is the exact replica of the border of the preamble of the Indian Constitution. So it's inspired from exactly that, and everything, all the artworks are originally inspired from the Ajanta and Ellora cave paintings. So hence we call it the Freedom Gateway. So you, as you step inside, you're stepping inside the Constitution. That's the idea behind it. Now if you walk through this is the heart of the museum. This is where we kept the original copy of the handwritten Constitution. So as you might know, the original Constitution is handwritten and is the lengthiest document. So we only have one English version and an Hindi version. But we also made 1,000 copies of the original one to gift it to the Constituent Assembly members and other members of the Assembly. So 1,000 copies were made. This is one of those copies, the original one. This was gifted to our Vice Chancellor, Mr. C. Rajkumar, by the Law Minister, Mr. H.R. Bhagwat in 2009. So when the museum was opened, it was gifted to the museum. Again, if you see the lotus, lotus influence on the cover of the book, that tells you that lotus is not limited to just this political party, but the heritage goes back many years, at least decades and centuries. We see our deities holding lotus, we see different religions and their deities holding lotus in their hand. The question which we should ask is why lotus? So the flower lotus, the book also has been dedicated to lotus nectar. This piece is called lotus nectar. Now why lotus? Because lotus represents purity and it also represents prosperity. So by placing this book in this lotus, we hope that this will bring prosperity to our nation. This pure book will bring prosperity to our nation. That's the idea behind it. Now we will be moving forward and walking towards the right. I asked you all to mind your step because we will step here. Now face this wall. Last week I was giving tour to the staff, the helping staff, the horticulture department, and I asked them, okay, after we got independence from the Britishers, when India got freedom, who runs the country now? मतलब अब पहले अंग्रेजों का राज था तो अब किसका राज है? And the answers they gave me was हिंदुओं का राज है, मोदी का राज है, या किसी ऐसे तीसरे इंसान का राज है. And I told them no, it's the Constitution book. किताब का राज है, चाहे वो मोदी है उसको भी पावर्स इस किताब से मिलते हैं, चाहे कोई भी आदमी, कोई भी एग्जीक्यूटिव पोस्ट पे है, प्रेसिडेंट है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर, सबको पावर्स ये किताब देती है. और then I asked them कि इस किताब को ये पावर कहाँ से मिलती है? The opening line of our preamble, we the people. So we the people have empowered this book to give every individual in the country the right to govern the country. Now, who all will govern the country? Who all made the constitution that sits here? So this picture is of all the 299 members of the Constituent Assembly. The assembly that was made to draft the Constitution of India. This picture here, it has all the members. It had 15 women members also. So if you look on the right, there's a picture of 11 women members also. So the total women were 15, but pictured here are 11 of them. The other 4 women felt that they would work better while working on the ground. They didn't belong in the parliament, they wanted to work on the ground. So they had joined Mahatma Gandhi on his freedom struggle. That's why they are pictured here. Then over here we have the Constituent Assembly to ensure the smooth functioning of the process was divided into several committees. There was the drafting committee which drafted the entire constitution. This picture is of the drafting committee members. This man is Benekal Narsingh Rao. He was not a member of this assembly, 299 members. He was the advisor to the assembly. He was the person who prepared the first draft of the constitution. So that's why he's been pictured in this very important picture. All of these are very historical ones. For example, this one is a very peaceful or not so peaceful meeting about the partition plan. So the partition plan is under discussion with the Lord Mountbatten, Jindal ji, and then Pandit Nehru and other prominent members, Ambedkar, Baba Saheb Ambedkar ji. So all of these are historical pictures, original pictures that you got from Government of India website and their archival library documents. Then this screen, this corner itself is learner's corner. Over here, some of you took quiz on the constitution to engage the students and other members also. Then over here we have paid tribute to specifically to the women members of the Constituent Assembly. So this screen has small biographical videos of each one of the women Constituent Assembly members, all the 15 women members. You can actually learn about their lives and their achievements by listening, by tapping onto in any of those videos, and you can learn about either one of them. Thanks, sir. Please go ahead. So this corner is specifically dedicated to the women members of the Assembly. Moving forward, over here, if you walk through, you will see an animated video. This is a video of the preamble of the Constitution. So in the 80s and the 90s, when our country was still developing and the literacy was not very high, what was the other medium to reach to the masses? So television. So using broadcasting media, we made sure that people understand the idea and the ideas that our Constitution is based on. So this is an animated video of the preamble of the Constitution. Now, as we walk through, this wall is called the flip and learn section. So people, when the museum was made, the idea was to make it for everybody. People who are from the law background or not from the law background could also come and learn about the different things in the Constitution. So what do these different terms mean? Constituent Assembly, a welfare state, what is a panchayat? All these terms that we hear in our everyday conversations, what do they mean in essence? I explained here briefly. This corner, flip and learn. Then on the other wall, we have the fundamental duties that all citizens must follow or must know about at least. That's the idea behind it. So that wall has fundamental duties. Then over here we have this piece called Votus Indica. It's an interplay of two words. Indica is a Latin word for India, and then Votus is voting lotus. So if you look closely, all these fingers have ink marks. That means these fingers have voted in the elections. And they all form a shape like a lotus. So again, the idea is to emphasize how India has upheld the right to vote for every citizen of India. Because you can't make out whether it's a man voting or a woman voting. And India was one of the leading countries to give every citizen the right to vote. Switzerland gave its women the right to vote in 1970s. So we were way ahead of those times to give every citizen the right to vote. And now again, you should ask why lotus? Because again, the idea is if you vote, you strengthen democracy, and a strong democracy is a prosperous nation. It will lead to prosperity of a nation. That's the idea. Then this piece is called ascending descending. I usually don't interpret it because this is such a multi-layered piece. Every viewer sees it in a different light. So each one of you, I'm sure, will have a different idea. You might even see some of your students fighting, struggling in this, or some of the toppers at the top. But each one interprets differently. One of the things that I tell to the students to inspire them is that, so the person at the top has a book in his hand. So to reach the highest rounds of the ladder, education is the way. Other than that, another interpretation is because it sits in the Constitution Museum. So the ladder is the Constitution, and by giving it different rights and freedoms, it empowers you to climb the ladder. At the same time, if you violate the Constitution, it will also punish you and it can descend you down. So that's how it maintains the idea of ascending and descending.
This person is helping.
The other people, yes. Like I said, it's such a layered product that I don't explain it because people see it differently. They might not agree with my idea. Just like beauty lies in the eye of the beholder, I feel art lies in the eye of the seer. So how you see it is fully meaningful.
There is a person sleeping at the top, so that also means something.
Something
He doesn't have a book.
The artist actually, I think, talked about the displaced people, though.
It's like
No, but then this talks about the displaced people of India, and we've had a lot of people who've been displaced in our country. Yes, for the bigger good, but then they have been displaced.
So the museum is divided into three floors. The ground floor talks about the foundation of the constitution there. Then the mezzanine floor is a tribute to the founders of the constitution. And the top floor talks about the 75-year journey of our constitution as well as the freedom and the rights it has given to our citizens. So when we talk about foundation, the first question you ask is who is going to be the citizen of this country. So this infographic tells you about what are the different ways to acquire Indian citizenship, what are the different passports that Indians can hold. You have questions about OCI, what if an Indian who has settled abroad and they marry a foreigner, what status will they have? These are the questions that you want to ask the students so that they can try to answer and at the same time learn about citizenship as well. So this whole tells that. Then another important pillar of a strong democracy is elections. So that one tells you about how to elect different elective bodies, how many people will sit in a particular parliamentary house, the evolution of democracy, the democratic process of elections, EVMs introduction and anti-defection law. So all of this is for students to come and learn about. Then over here we have the front cover of the book, the back cover, and the freedom gateway that you walk through. The back side had this preamble border, but the front side also had this border, the first page of our constitution. So the outline of this border is the outline of the freedom gateway, front side. And the center obviously sits with Satyam Mujahid.
This page is before 76.
This is the original one. This is because socialist secular was added later in 1976 by the 42nd Amendment. So this is the original draft. Like I said, so the original constitution also was divided into 22 parts. And those two infographics tell you about all those 22 parts briefly. Now in this set we have 25 parts. Similarly, just like this older version of preamble, the 22 parts are described there, and each part has a painting, an artwork preceding it. So our constitution is not just text in itself; it has these artworks and paintings included in it. And we have also paid tribute to the artists who hand drew or painted all these artworks. So this will talk about the Kalakars and the Chitrakars. Interestingly, Mr. Prema Bihari Narayan, he handwrote the entire constitution.
Did not take any money.
And he did not take any money. And remind you, he wrote the lengthiest constitution in the world, which is 1,46,003 words. He did not charge any fee, but what he asked for was that
Every page money.
his name, be written on every page of the constitution. So every page of our constitution, left bottom corner has his name on it. And then Mr. Dios Ramanohar Sinha, he was the designer behind the preamble border, the back page of the freedom gateway. Even his name, Ram, in Hindi, is written on right bottom corner of the preamble. So if you look closely, you see that other corners are empty, but the right bottom corner has something inscribed on it, and that's Ram for you. You have to really have microscopic eyes to look at it, but it's there. We show it's there. No,
That's the thing.
this is the first page. After that, the text starts. Every page. I have seen it. Because when we were cleaning that book, we opened it and I saw it for myself. Every page I see. Now moving forward, over here, this is the rare portrait of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi was not a part of the Constituent Assembly. Please come forward so that we can commemorate what we do. So he was not a member of the Constituent Assembly, the 299 members, but his role is so pivotal that you cannot have a constitution museum without having him, because he served as a member, as a constitutional, as an advisor to almost all the members of the Constituent Assembly. Now this is a lead portrait. When I say lead, it has 320 meters of khadi fabric used in making this. And it looks like a painting from afar, but it's actually embroidery, hand embroidered on it. So if you look closely, you will be able to see the minute details. Yeah, it's a painting. Yeah, it's embroidered on it. And I like to ask significance in 320?
320 pages.
No, sir.
320 days.
No, sir.
320 articles.
No, no. Something Gandhi did it.
Fasted for 320 days.
It got fast.
Satyagraha question.
Some one of the satyagrahas, but with satyagraha.
What is the question?
So the question is, so this is a lead portrait of Gandhiji. 320 meters of khadi fabric has been used to make this. Why 320 meters? What is the significance of 320?
The Dandi March.
Exactly.
320 miles.
Yes, so 320 kilometers was the distance he covered on foot for Dandi March. That's why 320. Yeah. Dandi March. Oh,
get
I
to
didn't hear it, sir.
No, it's great to learn, ma'am.
Yeah. So this piece is called Foundation. This is by the artist Ramani. This is a charcoal-based painting. Why it's called Foundation? Because one of few of the founding members of the assembly are taking their swearing in oath ceremony here. The first law minister, the first president of the country, and the first prime minister. This is an artistic recreation where he is adding Ashok's cover in the background, and of course the Gandhi March that we just guessed correctly in the bottom. The idea is, so all of it is shown in black and white, but the book, the pen and the inkpot have been shown in color. Can you guess why?
To incorporate everybody.
Okay, but
Because it brought, prosperity, will bring prosperity,
brought colour.
protection, equality, rights.
Because constitution is a living document.
right, exactly. So people are transient, the lifespan is limited, but the ideas, the values they carry will live forever. They are timeless. So hence the color in this, and the pen and the ink are shown in color to make it, to keep it living by making it amendments to it. Hence the living document. So when since it's the foundation floor, so we wanted to ensure, the constitution makers wanted to ensure that all the vulnerable communities are also safeguarded. So how do we safeguard them? By providing them different rights and protections. So we give reservation rights to women in local panchayat. We set up commissions for SCs and STs and OBCs. Then we also have Schedule 5 and Schedule 6, which guarantees geographical protection to scheduled caste and scheduled tribal communities. So these infographics will explain that to you, that this one is on directive principles of state policy. So how should a state form its policies? What are the things it should keep in mind while framing policies for such a diverse country? So these are all the guidelines that the state should follow. If it doesn't follow, you can take it to the court, but it should follow. And keeping these in mind, the state has formulated many policies. The policy of Gram Panchayat, or the local self-government idea, came from the idea of promotion of village panchayat that was offered by Gandhiji. We also have Environment Act, Air Act, Water Act, which comes from protecting your environment from these directive principles. So these serve as a guiding light to the bureaucracy or the policy makers. So this tells you about that. Then this one is a very beautiful piece called Fragments of a Nation. Our constitution protects us human beings, but it also protects living beings beyond humans. So remnants of different living beings are captured here. Trees, insects, plants, and any other thing that you can identify lives here. But interestingly, the center has been kept empty. Any artistic interpretation? Sorry?
The soul.
The soul could be, like, there's no right answer, and just asking for your opinion, like, what do you see when you see an empty center?
More additions to come.
More additions.
Everything in between, whatever,
Great.
etc. So that everything is
Right.
more
This,
inclusive.
that, and everything.
Space for future generations.
Yes, exactly. But it's a little dark. I take a little darker note by saying that although Constitution has provided us with different rights and articles, we as a society are not upholding them, which has led to extinction of many of these species. At the same time, has left a void in the society. So this reflects that void. But I would equally take your answers, and explain it in the next presentation. Thank you. So moving ahead.
If you could talk about the freedom of trade.
Sorry?
Freedom of
trade. So the idea
because this is something which is under a lot of
debate, yes.
not debate, it is being curtailed,
Right.
and just because of majoritarism, something which the constitution is actually against.
Right. So the idea is that not that it is majoritarianism that is curtailing freedom to trade. So there are many, so the different articles or different issues, I would say, are put into different lists. So there's state list, then there's union list, and there's concurrent list also. So each has its own jurisdiction to frame policies on respective areas. So the conflict arises, for example, some states have banned alcohol, some have not. That tells you that okay, states have autonomy, but at the same time can center govern or make rules according to that. So anything that harms human life or human consciousness, then the state can intervene and play a role by ensuring every individual's safety and well-being. That is the core idea guiding the state in this when we talk about intervention. Yeah.
Thank you.
Then over here we have languages in the constitution. Can anybody tell me how many official languages do we have without looking at the answer if you could find it?
I was about to say 18, but then there are 22.
Yes, yeah, 22. So we don't have 1, 2 or 3. We have 22 official languages in the constitution.
Earlier there were only 16.
Yes, sir. And
I learned 18.
In 2000.
And 18.
That's in our time we learned 18.
Right now 22.
Oh, no, of course it's 22. I can.
Latest editions are Maithili, Nepali,
Bodo Dogri
Dogri
and
and
Santali and Maithili.
Santali.
But that's a good
Yes,
thing to do.
The last 4 were these. So these are 22 languages. Other than that, we also have 10,000 dialects, which are not mentioned here. This might not come as a surprise to you, but when we have foreign guests visiting, hearing the 10,000 number itself is like lightning striking on them that okay, you have such diversity in the country. So this is one place where I feel really like proud when I showcase this to foreigner guests that this is the diversity of my country. And then this one tells you about amendments in the constitution. So to keep it a living document, how do you keep amending it? What are the different ways to amend the constitution? And even though the USA constitution is the oldest one, it has only been amended 27 times, while Indian constitution, the latest data is 108 times, the latest being the women reservation bill, that has been made an amendment. So that shows that how truly living of a document it is, and it's also not too rigid to change or at the same time not too flexible also, because there are 3 ways to amend the constitution. In some areas or domains you need the state's permission also to make changes to the constitution. That tells you it's not as easy to mess with it as we think or assume that it would be. Now if you face this well or tree, as we like to call it, it's called wishing tree of justice. First of all, I'd like to explain each word. Why wishing tree? Because we are wishing for something here. It looks like a wishing well. Tree because if you look at it from above, it looks like a tree has been cut from the center, and the stem, which generally has the age rings. So these circles represent the age rings of the tree. And justice because all of these rocks have been sourced from different parts of the country. And you might know that all parts do not have equal distribution of all resources. Some have desert areas, some have forest, and some have other natural resources. But we wish that despite the diversity, that there be justice in all these parts and they all form a united whole. So that's the idea behind the wishing tree of justice. This screen has the vision of the museum. So the curator, Ms. Anshita B. Nair, is seen in the interview with Professor C. Rajkumar that you can actually be thrown into once you enter the tour and want to explore further and come back. We also have a small merchandise store where you can buy some of the goodies if you like. This piece is called Genesis. It's a very interesting one. So Genesis in Christianity means origin and growth. So when I say origin and growth, what do we see in this? So the seed-like structure inside has words of preamble written on it, which is considered the origin of the country or the origin of the constitution. And the leaves emerging from it are the growth. Or in constitutional sense, the articles of legislation based on the code. But interestingly, these two are made from 2 separate metals. So the inside will stay intact, the core will stay intact, but this will rust, it will discolor, even break down over time. That shows that our constitution is in continual growth. It needs to make changes, it needs to make amendments to our constitution, and sometimes we might need to strike down some of the laws also. So that shows the growth in our constitution. So this is Genesis for you. If you face that wall, sorry I'm bombarding you with a lot of information. So if you face this wall, it's a famous speech by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar called Grammar of Anarchy. So it was delivered on the eve of when our constitution was ready to be adopted, 26 November 1949. He gave it on 25 November. Why grammar of anarchy? Anarchy, as you know, means absence of order or chaos in society. So now he has this book of constitution ready in his hand. So what anarchy is he talking about? So the methods earlier adopted by Gandhians like the non-cooperation movement, the civil disobedience movement, the essence was to violate the constitution or the laws that were prevalent in those times. So Ambedkar now steps in and he says that we have prepared this document, we have given you, we have tried to give you every right and freedom that you could possibly imagine. Now give away, like get done with those methods, use constitutional methods to achieve your dreams. So this is the grammar of anarchy. Like we present you with this book to empower you. So use the constitutional methods. And then again, he asked very important question in those times which is still relevant. Will Indians place the country above their creed or will they place their country above the country? This is 1950 and we are living in 2025.
We still ask the same question.
We still ask the same question, and yesterday I had a guest saying that we still be asking it 20, 30 years later on. I hope so not.